One day, everything I thought I knew about my life was turned upside down by an unexpected event. I never imagined it could happen. I was sitting on the terrace, wrapped in a blanket, and with a cup of herbal tea in my hands, the scent of relaxing herbs mixed with the fresh evening air, while the starry sky opened up infinitely before me. I was looking at the constellations, trying to calm my mind, when the thought hit me like a bolt of lightning. How could I let myself be dragged into this situation? It didn't happen all at once. We always think that life will follow the path we imagined: marriage, work, tranquility. But then life takes a sudden turn, and you find yourself immersed in chaos you never expected. Lorenzo, my husband, was always traveling for work. After 16 years together, I had grown accustomed to his absence. The house was empty and quiet, and I spent my days trying not to think about how alone I felt. Each room seemed like an echo of the past, a place where memories took refuge, but without warmth. I filled my time with little things, reading novels that I never finished, walking in the garden and caressing the plants as if they were alive, listening to music that seemed to increase my sense of isolation. But nothing filled the void that was growing inside me. Then came Sophia, Lorenzo's favorite niece, who changed everything. Sophia had just turned 23 and had moved to us to study at university. Lorenzo had always been very affectionate with her, almost protective, and he couldn't wait to lend her a hand. When he asked me if he could stay with us for a while, I accepted without thinking too much. After all, I thought, what could possibly happen? I thought his presence would bring some life into the house, a welcome change in a routine that was becoming unbearable. When Sophia arrived, she filled the house with energy and laughter. It brought with it a freshness that I hadn't felt in a while. He had a way of speaking that was captivating, a laugh that filled the space like a ray of sunshine suddenly entering a dark room. At first, he was just a light and pleasant presence, but soon our conversations became more intimate. Lorenzo was often out of town, and so Sophia and I spent a lot of time together. I wonder, have you ever found yourself in a situation where you were caught between what is right and what you want? Tell me about it in the comments. It was incredible how easy it was to talk to her. I had found a confidant, someone with whom I could share my deepest and most secret thoughts that I had never dared to confess even to myself. One evening, after a quiet dinner, Sophia asked me to open a bottle of wine. I agreed, thinking it would be a nice way for us to relax a bit. We sat in the living room. The candlelight created a warm and intimate atmosphere. The more we drank, the deeper our conversations became. She told me about her past relationships, her passions, and her desires. I listened fascinated, enraptured by that disarming sincerity, and at the same time in disbelief at how attracted I was to her. His eyes shone in the candlelight, and his smile was full of a sweetness that made me feel safe, but also dangerously exposed. As the wine flowed, I began to feel a warmth envelop me. Sophia looked at me in a different, more intense way, and I felt lost in her eyes. When we sat on the sofa, the soft lights in the room amplified the magic of that moment. Then it happened. Sophia came closer and kissed me. The kiss was slow but full of desire. I felt his hands slide down my back, and for a moment I was completely lost in that moment. Deep down I knew it was wrong, but I couldn't stop. His tongue explored my mouth with a passion I hadn't felt in years, and in that moment I forgot everything. My husband, my life, my past. There was only Sophia and that overwhelming desire that was growing. In the following days, I tried to act as if nothing had happened. Sophia, however, seemed to enjoy playing with me. She gave me provocative looks during breakfast, She accidentally brushed against me when she passed by me, and she always found an excuse to get close to me. I was consumed by guilt, but at the same time I felt alive in a way I hadn't in years. There was a constant tension between us, an unspoken thing that filled every moment we spent together. One night, Lorenzo was traveling again, and Sophia asked me to help her choose a dress for a date. I entered her room, scented with vanilla, and found her in front of the mirror, wearing only black lingerie. He looked at me through the mirror and said, "What do you think, Aunt? Too bold?" I felt my heart speed up. I tried to respond nonchalantly, but she came closer, placed her hands on my hips, and kissed me again. This time, the kiss turned into something more. I found myself lying on the bed, with her on top of me. I felt her body press against mine, and I could no longer pretend I didn't want her. Every moment seemed suspended in a limbo, where time no longer existed. That night we went beyond limits, and for the first time in years I felt pleasure that I had forgotten existed. Lorenzo returned home the next day. I tried to act normal, but every time he hugged me, I felt the weight of guilt crushing me. Sophia, on the other hand, seemed completely at ease. Every time Lorenzo wasn't looking, he gave me a look I knew how to recognize. He wanted more. One day, while Lorenzo was in the shower, Sophia slipped into the kitchen where I was preparing lunch. He pushed me against the counter and kissed me with such passion that I almost dropped the dishes. "You're irresistible," he whispered in my ear. The fear of getting caught made everything even more exciting, and before I could stop her, her hands were already under my shirt. I felt overwhelmed by that forbidden feeling, as if every boundary was now a distant memory. Every stolen encounter was an explosion of emotions, a mix of fear and desire that left me more and more confused. But I soon started to feel like it was getting out of hand. Sophia was no longer satisfied with furtive stolen moments. She wanted more. She wanted me to leave Lorenzo for her. He told me that I should stop pretending, that I deserved to be happy, and for a moment I actually considered his proposal. Lorenzo, unaware of everything, began to notice that I was distant. One evening he asked me if everything was okay, and I told him I was just tired. But in reality, I was torn by guilt. I knew that continuing like this would destroy our marriage, but at the same time I couldn't resist Sophia. The climax came one night when Lorenzo went out for a business dinner. Sophia found me in the living room, took my hand, and took me to her room. That night we made love with unbridled passion, but in the morning I felt empty. I knew I couldn't go on like this anymore. Sophia finally decided to move. He told me he had found an apartment near the university. Before leaving, he hugged me and said, "Don't forget about me." I was torn between relief and a sharp pain at the thought of losing her. The house suddenly seemed emptier than before, and that silence weighed on me like a boulder. Every corner seemed imbued with his presence, a tangible reminder of what we had shared. Lorenzo never knew any of this, and perhaps it's for the best. But even now, every now and then, I think back to Sophia and that period of my life when I rediscovered who I really was. I wonder what would have happened if I had taken another path. These thoughts accompany me like a distant whisper, a memory that I don't want to let go of, a part of me that will always live in that unrepeatable intensity. If you would like to see other videos from this series, write "I'm waiting for the next one" in the comments. If you found the video interesting, put a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next releases. Thank you so much.